a critical piece of safety equipment that I happen to be missing from the bottom side of this car in this general area. Drive shaft loop. So, as luck would have it, I had a drive shaft loop hanging up. So, I guess that's going to be on the list for getting installed tonight. Definitely need to have that in before I put in that carpet. And there we go. The drive shaft loop is in. I even got it gooped up with some undercoating so it doesn't get all funky under there. Oh, and in case you're curious, your drive shaft loop, if you're only going to run one, has to be within 6 inches of your drive shaft in the front. You know, I was thinking about this car today and how this thing was kind of a budget street beater back in the 1985 era when the article came out about this car. And one of the things that I've deviated on this car, which I guess would not be considered totally budget friendly, would be probably the Caltrax and the double adjustable shocks. You know, this had super stock springs on it. It had just regular like Monroe gas shocks, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people have used them for a lot of years. I want to do some bracket racing with this car later on and potentially add some more power, and so I wanted something that would give me some adjustability. So other than that, really, this car, I'm using used parts. I didn't really do anything to the engine. I'm kind of curious to see what this thing runs, you know, what these cars were all about back in the 80s and how fast they really are. Because you always hear the stories about, you know, back in the day, I had an uncle that had a car that could jump a Coke can. Well, you know, this was probably a fairly hot street car back in the day. So I wanted to leave as much of that spirit as I could. You know, I bought a Sniper Holley fuel injection kit for this thing to go full control over the ignition and the injection and stuff like that. But for Hot Rod Drag Week, I just kind of wanted to simplify my life and just leave it carbureted, leave it as simple and as bulletproof as I possibly could. The only thing I can think of that may be a potential issue, I don't know if I'll have enough time to swap it out, is everybody seems to have problems with electric fuel pumps. And this thing had a Hollywood Blue pump that kind of failed, kind of worked, kind of failed. I put this Carter in here. I've used them before. They work pretty good, and they seem to be pretty reliable. So I'll probably buy another one to have as a backup. But it's also a deadheaded system, so they tend to get hot. So if I get the chance, I'm going to try and put a regulator back here and put a service loop in it, or just vent it back into the tank, so that way it's not a deadhead system and the pump will not overheat. So overall, I'm just trying to return this thing back to, you know, just a reliable street strip car, and something that, you know, I can later put some more power into. I'd like to run in like a 1050 class with this car eventually. So that's where the car, that's where my vision for this car is. You know, how I get there, we'll see. I probably, instead of buying the Holley Sniper kit, I probably should just bought a good set of cylinder heads for what I got invested into that kit. Maybe a roller cam, but you know, all that stuff will come in time. Something I did on this car is I'm going to use a tubing coupler to make my shifter mount. That way, when I need to take the seat in and out, I just have a little stub sticking out of the floor. I mean, it's going to be a pain in the butt enough to wrestle the seat in and out of here if I ever have to after this. Pretty much planning on leaving the seat in here because It looks pretty fantastic. Legacy did a killer job on this thing. I think in some of the other videos you can see where it is green, and the panels in the bottom were all chewed up. The foam, once it was taken apart, all the foam was all chewed up too. There was mice holes in it. There was some springs. So there's a set of springs that broke on this side, close on, like right around in here. There's some springs that broke, and that's why it started to tear the upholstery. Also, we got rid of the handlebars that went on the back of this, so he made some new side panels for that. And then also there used to be some other like pockets that went in the back of the seat, and you know, it was going to be a pain in the butt for the guy to try and dye them, and they were basically going to be useless anyway, so I just had him make some flat panels for the back. Turned out really nice. I'm really happy. I'm getting ready to call it a night. I got the shifter cable all connected to the transmission. I had to put on a new bracket, and I had to swap out a lever arm. The one that was on there, the factory one, was cracked, so that might have been contributing to why this factory shifter was so sloppy, but much prefer something that's gated and has positive engagement, so I can't like screw this up, and the cable works nice and smooth. You know, even not mounted onto the floor, the action is pretty smooth. So I took Friday off so I can start going after this carpet and get this interior dialed in. And I think other than that, it's going to be knocking out some of the small stuff. I got to get the hood back on. Got to get a air cleaner figured out for this thing. I might run the original air cleaner. You know, this might have been the original air cleaner that was on that Charger that the motor came out of. That was Kurt's original drivetrain. That some of that stuff got swapped over. So we'll see. Still got some stuff to do, pick away at this thing. I got to get the battery disconnect also put in there because the battery is in the back of this car. So, you know, it's all the updating, going from a car that was just seldom raced to something that has got to pass tech at an NHRA track. Also, at some point this weekend, got to get the lower quarters buttoned up as well. We'll see if I have time to slap any paint on this thing before we go. But, well, it's coming along. I think we're going to make it.